Before his name became synonymous with greatness in cinema, before he screamed with power in the most iconic crime films, Alfredo James Pacino was just a boy growing up in the tough streets of New York. Born on April 25, 1940, in East Harlem, his parents separated when he was very young, and he moved with his mother to the Bronx. Poverty, loneliness, and a broken home shaped his early years. Al wasn't a brilliant student, but he was in love with acting since childhood. He used to skip school to perform scenes in alleyways or in front of friends. But chasing his dream was never easy. He got into the famous actor's studio, yet the road ahead was long and filled with rejection. During this time, he worked all kinds of odd jobs: waiter, janitor, secondhand book salesman. Sometimes he lived in tiny apartments with no heating, eating just bread and cheese. All he had was his passion. In 1968, he landed his first real role in the film Me, Natalie, but the world didn't take notice yet. Then came 1972, when director Francis Ford Coppola made a risky decision to cast an unknown face to play Michael Corleone in The Godfather. The studio wasn't convinced, the audience didn't know who Al Pacino was, but Coppola saw something different, and this is where the legend began. By the early 1970s, Alfredo Pacino was no longer just another name in Hollywood. His name whispered through studio corridors, and after the explosive success of The Godfather, the industry came knocking with scripts and contracts. But Al wasn't chasing money. He was chasing meaning. He needed roles that cracked open his soul, ones that consumed him completely. In 1973, an offer landed that was anything but ordinary. Serpico, the story of a cop who dared to challenge a corrupt system. Pacino didn't just play Serpico, he became him. It wasn't acting, it was transformation. The film hit a nerve across America, and critics stood in awe of his performance. Once again, he found himself nominated for an Oscar. Then came a wave of masterpieces. Dog Day Afternoon, where he played Sonny, a desperate man robbing a bank to fund his partner's gender reassignment surgery. His chant, Attica, Attica, echoed through cinema history. This wasn't performance that it was raw, unfiltered social commentary through a single man's scream. Yet, with every rise came a haunting shadow. Al struggled with the burden of fame. He wasn't comfortable with the spotlight. It burned. Reports surfaced about a brief battle with addiction, but like a phoenix, he rose again, stronger, fiercer. As the decade waned, he stepped back from the screen, reflecting, recharging. Then came the eruption, Scarface, Tony Montana. The name carved itself into pop culture like a bullet through glass. A ruthless outlaw rising from Miami's gutters to the throne of cocaine. Pacino's portrayal was so intense, so believable, that some audiences thought he wasn't acting at all. Scarface wasn't immediately celebrated. Critics were divided. But time has a way of turning rebels into legends. The film became a cultural titan. Its fashion, quotes, even its cadence seeped into everyday life. Tony Montana became more than a character. He became a symbol. And Al Pacino became immortal. Still, Al refused to be caged in the world of gangsters. He craved variety, chased roles that would stretch his essence. He starred in Sea of Love, Revolution, and others, though not all found the same spotlight. But his fire never dimmed. He kept searching, waiting, for that next role that would shake the world. And in the 1990s came the unexpected twist, a cinematic peak that would blow open every assumption. But that, my friend, is where the final chapter begins. Al Pacino grew older, but his magic never faded. Time etched lines into his face, but the fire of his art kept burning fiercely. He was no longer just an actor to the younger generation. He was a symbol, a school of performance, a voice echoing from behind the curtain. In his later years, he chose fewer roles, but each one carried immense weight. He starred in The Irishman, reunited with legends like De Niro and Scorsese. His presence in the film felt like a tribute to decades of pure, relentless artistry. Behind the scenes, his life was tinged with sorrow. He had loved deeply and lost just as much. He never married, though he had passionate relationships. Perhaps he always knew that his truest love was the craft itself. His children were part of his life. Yet he remained that solitary figure in countless photos, sitting alone on a balcony, gazing over the city, a man carrying stories he'd never tell. In an interview, a journalist asked him, "Do you feel you've done it all?" Pacino smiled and replied, I haven't even started. That smile, half wisdom, half weariness, spoke of a man who had lived 1,000 lives, on screen and off. Then came the quiet headline. Al Pacino officially retires from acting. No fanfare, and no dramatic farewell. He didn't need it. His influence spoke louder than applause. But before he bowed out, he left a final artistic gift, a short film he both directed and starred in. It was the story of a man trying to save his memory from fading. It wasn't about Al Pacino, but somehow it was Al Pacino in his rawest, most authentic form. In the closing scene, the old man sits on a wooden chair, facing the sea, and says, Life's not a movie, but if you play it right, people won't forget. And just like that, Al Pacino stepped off the stage, not with thunderous applause, but with a silence filled with reverence. He wasn't just an actor. He was a legend that walked among us and left a legacy etched in eternity. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story like this. And share it with someone who loves Al Pacino.